Welcome back, my friends, to episode 10 of the RoboTaxi Report. What you're seeing here is the community tracker set up by Elias, and as far as we know, this is the best way for other beta testers to get involved to help see where the data is going. To make collecting information simple for those who don't have the time to go in as much detail as Elias and I, he created this tracker you can use right from the browser in your car to measure your critical disengagements, your simple disengagements, as well as your interventions. These don't automatically upload to the tracker, but it's a way for you to jot it down. That way you can remember them later. Links to all this will be in the description. Credit where it's due, this idea actually came from EV Guy Canada, where we saw his FSD Beta tracker in his videos, and it sparked a curiosity in Elias to see if we could do something similar to help more people get involved, since not everybody has the time to articulate everything in a notebook or spend their time at the computer logging. So proper credit to EV Guy Canada and his tracker, and a link to his channel will be in the description. I highly encourage everyone to go check him out. So as we get back into the RoboTaxi results, I really want to highlight an important point here that hopefully isn't missed on anybody. All of these trips are customer trips. Real customer trips. Someone I picked up and then attempt to drop off at their location without any disengagements to prove out the concept of an actual RoboTaxi. I've seen plenty of comments all over Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, pointing to the idea that robotaxis aren't realistic or that the system as it is now cannot complete the task. That is flat out false. It is by no means a reliable source of transportation yet, but what you're seeing here on your screen is showing that it is possible, and currently with a pretty high degree of success. We'll take a look now at the latest week of data regarding 10.11.2. As expected from the last episode, we're basically in a local maximum now, which is good given that the next update is supposed to come out next week. These last 2 weeks have both been done on chill average with no real change in the performance, and this coming week, regardless of the update, I'm going to be going into chill assertive. On top of that, thanks to information I gained from doing the aggressive version of the Gauntlet, video coming soon by the way, I will also be going into Mad Max on NOA code. I've also gotten a number of comments where people are chiming in and saying that the drive mode between chill and standard doesn't really matter. Be that as it may, I don't use chill mode because of a difference in beta performance. I use chill mode for the comfort of my passengers. In the Tesla world, we can be pretty used to the high G-forces and the acceleration and even the standard versions of the vehicles. However, the average person hopping in the car, jumping in the back seat to get from A to B, they're not expecting to be thrown around with crazy acceleration. And though the beta does take comfort into the equation to some extent, there is a noticeable difference between the chill drive setting and standard drive setting when it comes to my customers and their comfort in the vehicle. So hopefully that makes more sense and kind of puts the idea to bed that I'm thinking that chill versus standard has a real difference in the beta performance. If there is, it's likely negligible, just like we're seeing between the FSD Beta modes, but it's good to clear that up nonetheless. As we go forward, we're looking at city versus highway disengagements, and we've got another week of data in here showing a pretty flat line relative to previous software stacks. The line would likely be even more flat if it wasn't for the Gauntlet testing I've been doing in the last 2 weeks. Rides in the Challenge series are notoriously higher in disengagements due to the fact that they are the Challenge series. They're meant to be tough, they're meant to put the beta through hell to see how it performs in extremely difficult situations. But it's also important to keep in mind when looking at this because with general day-to-day driving, the disengagements for both city and highway would typically be quite a bit less. Now that we've got a good amount of data over several patches, we can start to look at trend lines. This is a good sign. This is going down, which is what we want. Although it's a bit more flat, you can see the same thing with the highway disengagements, and I imagine that all of this will change once we have a stack merge. For now, we gotta work with what we have. Due to recent popular demand, I've decided to include the old way I used to do this, measuring kilometers per disengagement. This is also the same way that Elias displays disengagements on the community tracker. I originally showed the information like this, but got a lot of requests to show disengagements per kilometer to show a more intuitive trend line going down. But again, due to recent demand, I'm just going to show both. So now you can see in both fronts what it looks like, and you can see with 10.11.2 that things are tracking in the right direction, especially on the city street side. Keep in mind the highway stuff is not as important right now because the amount of work being done to the highway stack is likely minimal. I don't know exactly how much, but there's going to be a lot less consistent improvement with the highway stack until it's actually getting the same amount of attention. Just in case anybody's wondering, we'll highlight that middle point there where the spike is going up on both as the trip to Vegas. That's a lot of time on the road with not a lot happening, so you're going to have a lot more distance covered before a disengagement. So that is more so an outlier. Keep that in mind, but it is there because it is a data point. As we add another week of data to the disengagements versus interventions, you'll notice there isn't a terribly significant change between the last two on the chill average settings. The notable thing to consider here is that both high points of disengagement from the first week and this most recent week with 10.11.2 were both during weeks that included the Gauntlet testing. So naturally, those disengagements are going to be quite a bit higher. Both of those Gauntlet tests included a very difficult course and 3 laps each. So again, as I alluded to before, it's important to realize that when you see the disengagements not really changing or going up at some points. This is also why I don't want to do tests like the Gauntlet too often, because it'll end up skewing the data to show it disengaging far more often than it actually would on a day-to-day basis. Our donut of causation continues to go through refinement as we add another week of disengagements to the overall causation list. Since updating to version 10.11.2, we've gone through 88 disengagements, 43% of which are decision-making and execution errors, or bad choices, 19% of which are maps issues where they just don't match what the car is doing compared to what the map is on the screen, 12% of which are human-related, more so lately regarding cyclists than other drivers, not the occasional pedestrian that likes to hop out in front of the cars on the road, downtown, wherever. 9% of which are system limitations, which in my case are mostly U-turns. I haven't had any bad weather or really any other circumstances that have prevented the vehicle from completing its trips. 7% of which are system errors, which is when you get that red wheel that pops up. I know I've in the past referred to it as the red hands. The red hands are typically a strike against paying attention when it says please pay attention to the road or beeps at you to make sure you're there, but the red wheel is when you're actually getting a disengagement error. To be clear, these system errors are not strikes against me paying attention. These are actual system errors through the vehicle where autopilot has disengaged due to a system error. This has been confirmed by Tesla, and my vehicle still shows that I've had no strikes against me, just for clarification. These are notably annoying and largely unknown as to why they happen. The only repeatable case that I can think of is the Friars Challenge, where the Friars exit in 8 East caused the vehicle to want to jump over the exit median and throw up the red wheel to disengage. Lately, if I know that that's going to happen, I don't even let it get to that point, because there is no reason to. But in previous Friars Challenge videos, you will see that happen. 5% of these disengagements go towards safety concerns, but these were all on the challenge series. Whether it was the Friars Gauntlet or the Devil's Crossroads, these were not during normal testing, normal day-to-day usage. So that's important to keep in mind. These critical errors that were safety concerns were during intentional, high-stress testing on the system. Don't forget that. Legal and construction have really not been an issue on this build so far for me, red lights or any construction at all being the causation for those. I'm a big fan of this breakdown of the causation donut as compared to previous versions and other RoboTaxi reports, because I think this better lays out what's actually going on. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And to wrap up today, like I've done with previous episodes where we kind of throw in some miscellaneous topics, we're going to actually go over my channel schedule. So as the channel's gotten very popular, I've felt this need, this increased demand to put out more content, and that started to affect my work. With the goal being to keep priorities in line to make sure that I meet work needs as well as being able to put out consistent content, we've come up with this schedule. Mondays will continue to be the RoboTaxi Report, as was always the plan. And then Thursdays, you guys can look forward to a customer or challenge-related video. It will be one or the other. It's not going to be both. And those 2 days are the primary goal, at least 2 videos a week. Saturdays being tentative means that you might not always get a video on Saturday, but when I can, I'll try to put one out. And these will be miscellaneous. It could be another customer video, a challenge video, random testing that I decided to try one day because of an interesting scenario that popped up. But until I get to a point where I can actually do this more sustainably without really worrying so much about impacting my work life, this is the schedule that you guys can look forward to and what I'm going to try to commit to week. In the same vein of talking about sustainability in this type of work, I appreciate the feedback I got in the poll recently about whether or not I should start a Patreon. My wife and I, in other words, my recently appointed manager of the channel, have decided it's best to table this for now. I appreciate you guys' feedback, especially those of you who think that it would be valuable, but we're going to go ahead and focus on the meat and bones of the channel, continue to grow, make sure we show that it is content first, and then we may revisit this at a later time. That'll wrap up this week's RoboTaxi Report. Thanks for tuning in, and let me know what you think down in the comments. Help me get this to more eyes by sharing it with your friends and family and the platforms you use. Thank you again. Take care.